16 NHL teams that punched their tickets to the 2021 Stanley Cup Playoffs and have the chance to battle for the most iconic trophy in sports, the Stanley Cup. All 8 first-round matchups will be filled with intrigue as the teams raise the intensity level for what is going to be one of the most unique playoff campaigns hockey fans will ever see. Will Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid continue his regular season dominance in the postseason against the Winnipeg Jets? Can the rejuvenated Tampa Bay Lightning find their form from last season's playoffs to overcome the in-state rival Florida Panthers? Are the Toronto Maple Leafs in for a rude awakening when they take on the Montreal Canadiens? We are here to answer those questions and more as we break down every first-round series and provide you with our expert analysis. Hello, friends, and welcome to this special edition of Strictly Sports. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. I'm afraid I do have a little bad news. Michael Bullock will not be on with us this evening. Probably commitments beyond his control, but you know, it is what it is, and we'll hopefully. But he should be back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on MF's channel, Brady Spin 95. But for right now, special edition of Strictly Sports for this evening. We are going to be previewing the first round of both the Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs. We will start with the Stanley Cup playoffs as that started last Saturday. And we're going to go in the order of how the series started. So we're going to start with the series that kicked it all off. And when it comes to our circle, this is the number 2 series. The Boston Bruins versus the Washington Capitals. And without any further ado, let's start it off. Though many have questioned Taylor Hall throughout the past few seasons, there was never any reason to doubt the 2018 Hart Trophy winner. Way back when Hall was drafted in 2010 as NHL Central Scouting's number 2 ranked player, he thought he would end up in Boston. It wasn't the right timing then, but it sure is now. Hall has regained his MVP ways since being traded to the Bruins from the Buffalo Sabres at the deadline. Hall looks like he's played with David Krejci and Craig Smith for years, and he may well end up playing with them for years. After putting up 14 points in 16 games, team president Cam Neely said the club is trying to work out a long-term contract. The Washington Capitals were banged up to end the season, but Captain Alexander Ovechkin has returned in time for the playoffs, and the club got a lucky break when winger Tom Wilson was only handed a fine for his role in a scrum with the New York Rangers at the start of May. Controversial as it may be, Washington is better when Wilson is on the ice, though the other team may not be as safe. There are more questions surrounding the Caps than the Bruins. Anthony Manta has gone 10 games without a goal, and netminder Ilya Samsonov only recently came off the COVID-19 protocol list. The goaltending depth favors the Bruins with rookie phenom Jeremy Swayman playing behind veteran Tuukka Rask. These are 2 heavy hockey teams, and this will be a heavyweight fight. And if the 3 games that we've seen are any indication, this could go down as maybe the greatest first-round series ever. But then again, these 2 teams already have that honor. Go back to the first round in 2012 with all the 5-star classics and Shakespearean drama we saw in that series. And we've already seen it in this one. But based on what I've seen right now, I had my doubts, but I'm starting to believe in the Boston Bruins here. I think the Boston Bruins can pull this thing out. I think they can win this thing in 7 games, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. If Washington were to win, I would not at all be surprised, but I'm going with the Boston Bruins to win this series in 7 games. And MF and I, if it wasn't for one other series in this playoff year, in this first round, this easily would have been our series. But it's definitely our number 2 team that's taking this series. So and rightfully so, this is a perfect fit for them. So not much more to say here. I got Boston winning in 7, and so far Boston leads the series 2-1. All 3 games in this series have gone at least overtime. Capitals winning game 1 in overtime. Bruins even it up in game 2 with an overtime win. And then in game 3, Bruins winning in double overtime. Jack Edwards lost his mind if you saw his latest viral video on social media. So that's all there is to say. So I'm going with the Boston Bruins in 7 games. MF, like I said, if it wasn't for that one other series that we'll save for later, this easily would have been our series. And boy, oh boy, what a series it has been so far. If these 3 games have been any indication, this could go down as maybe the greatest first-round series of all time.
Yeah, this is no doubt about it. It's been a great series, and it's been pretty exciting up to this point. And like you said, we're only just scratching the surface on that one. The battle has only just begun, and it's going to get better and better throughout the remainder of this series. And so far, so good. Boston's been looking really good. But I'm going to partially disagree with you, Anthony. I do got Boston winning the series, but I think it's going to end in 6. I honestly think that Boston already got one of the 2 wins that they needed it to get. I think I just got a feeling they're going to finish them in Boston. I think if they win the next game, that'll make them 3-1 up. Then I think Washington will get it back, get it to 3-2. Unfortunately, Washington will probably get closed out at TD Garden in front of what undoubtedly will be a very small crowd, not the total capacity that they're going to get in the next round of the playoffs, because if Boston does get through to the next round, TD Garden is going to be a full house. They're going to be rocking at the Garden at that point. So, I got Boston winning in 6 next series.
All right, and MF, you'll start it off. We're staying, hypothetically, we're staying in our conference, the Eastern Conference. And I think this series is also within our top echelon here. I don't know exactly where to put it, but we got the New York Islanders squaring off against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Islanders won game 1, but the Penguins have won the last 2, including a wild and crazy game 3 tonight, 5-4 at Nassau Coliseum. Penguins up 2-1. So, MF, of the 8 series, within the numbers of 3-8, where would you rank this series?
I probably think this is like in the 4 or 5 range to me, honestly. But I'm gonna openly admit this. Going into it, I had Pittsburgh winning the series regardless, and I still have them winning this series. The game 1 was an anomaly. Game 1 was an absolute anomaly because of the fact that maybe it was the goaltending. It was definitely the goaltending. The goaltending, I don't know what the heck happened in that game, but I'll openly admit it. The goaltending stunk in game 1. They finally turned the corner, and he standing on his head in game 2. I had 38 of 39, stopped 38 of 39 shots, only giving up 1 goal. And if you notice, now the power of the Penguins are starting to rise. The starters are starting to get better. And like Sidney Crosby. Crosby was somewhat quiet in the first couple of games. Now he's starting to turn it up. Now you're starting to see the championship pedigree starting to rise. This is why Pittsburgh was number 1. And now we're starting to see it. They're going to start imposing their will. I think the Islanders, this is their best chance to really kind of get the game going. They need a win. They need to win this next game, or it's a wrap. They're done in 5. So, very, very crucial. If they win this game, if Pittsburgh wins it, it's done in 5. If it goes beyond it, I think this could go 6 or 7. But I got the Penguins winning the series regardless. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Right there with you. Well, actually, this might be another disagreement, but I'll get into that in just a moment. There was once a time when Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin made the Pittsburgh Penguins one of the most feared teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now the fear is that the duo may not be playing in many more postseasons as they head into the twilight years of their illustrious careers. However, Sid and Gino are still 2 of the best in the world, and they do make the Penguins a formidable postseason opponent. Pittsburgh was successful without Malkin for much of the season while he was sidelined with a knee injury, so adding him into the equation will only make the Penguins more dangerous. Conversely, the Penguins' first-round opponent doesn't have any big stars like Crosby and Malkin, For the New York Islanders, the system is the star. The mark of a Barry Trotz team is structure and discipline. The Islanders may not score a whole lot of goals, but they sure can defend, and they have a deep lineup with a lot of toughness. The 402 high danger scoring chances, the 402 high danger scoring chances the Isles allowed were the 8th fewest in the NHL this season, per natural stat trick. Center Matthew Barzal is the Islanders' biggest star and their points leader with 45, but he wasn't forced to shoulder the offensive load alone when Captain Anders Lee went down. General Manager Lou Lamoriello returned to New Jersey to bring in 2 players, center Travis Zajac and winger Kyle Palmieri. The one question mark for New York is goalie Semyon Varlamov, who left Monday's game against a recent game against the Boston Bruins with an undisclosed injury. The Islanders did not practice, so we will find out whether he's good to go. The Penguins are one of the best rush teams in the league, and the Islanders are a staunch defensive team. In a 7-game series, I'm taking defense over flash and flair. Now, originally, I had the Islanders winning this series in 6 going in, but after what I've been seeing the last couple of games, I mean, they could still do it. I mean, the Isles would have to win 3 in a row in order for that to happen. But it depends on what happens in Game 4 on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock on NBC. Pittsburgh wins. Yeah, it's over. I don't care who you are. You're not coming back against Pittsburgh, although our Rangers know a thing or two about coming back from 3-1 down. Well, that was 7 years ago. This is a lot different now. But if the Islanders do win, then maybe my thought about the Isles winning in 6 going into this series maybe could still happen. But I think 6 or 7. But like I said, it depends on what happens in the game on Saturday. If Pittsburgh wins, it's over in 5. If the Isles win, this thing's going at least 6 or 7. And I think the Isles could win. So Pittsburgh in 5 if they win. If the Isles win, then I think they can still do it in 6. So we'll leave it at that. So with that, let's move on to our next series. And it'll be Battle of Western Conference teams here, as it will be the Vegas Golden Knights squaring off against the Minnesota Wild. And this series currently even at a game apiece. The Wild won game 1, 1-0. I think that was an overtime game, I think. Vegas took game 2, 3-1. And Minnesota currently leads game 3, as that game is currently airing on NBCSN. Last time I checked, it was 2-0 going into the second. But anyways, the COVID-19 pandemic influenced playoff format has done neither the Vegas Golden Knights nor Minnesota Wild any favors, as each team deserves an easier path out of the first round than this matchup provides. The Golden Knights kept most of the team's core from last season when they made the Western Conference Finals. Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty are living up to their reputations. Chandler Stevenson has surged since his acquisition from Washington in late 2019, and Shea Theodore continues to assert himself as a number 1 defenseman. Marc-Andre Fleury caught a second win and has arguably been the top goaltender in the league this season. And underachieving Alex Pietrangelo, the team's blockbuster offseason signing, is still a better defenseman than most. In one season, Minnesota has transitioned from the stalest team in the league to an entertaining outfit. Kirill Kaprizov made his long-awaited move from Russia and took the league by storm with 51 points in 55 games. Matt Zuccarello has rediscovered his New York Rangers-era magic. They have also fixed their goaltending issue. The last month of the regular season aside, Cam Talbot's season was a success. He has his work cut out for him against Vegas, but thrives in high shot frequency environments. Vegas has a slight advantage at even strength, but pulls away from Minnesota on special teams. I got the Vegas Golden Knights winning this series in 6 games. So not much more to say. Doc, what says you?
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you on this one. I also got the Vegas Golden Knights. I just feel like they're just the better team. Look, for what it's worth, I just feel like they're going to turn it around, even though right now it's not looking good for them tonight. But I do believe that the Vegas Golden Knights has enough of the weapons, have enough of the horses to get the job done. And I got Vegas winning this series as well. But I think it's going to be 6 to 7 games. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. And MF, you'll start off the next series. It's the Battle of the Sunshine State. Get ready for this one. as it will be your reigning, defending, undisputed Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning against the upstart Florida Panthers. Tampa Bay winning the first 2 games in Florida, but the Florida Panthers, what a game this was tonight. I mean, in game 3, before I give it to MF, think about this. Florida jumps out to a 2-0 lead. Tampa scores 3 unanswered to take the lead. And then Tampa has a 5-3 lead, but then Florida comes out of nowhere and somehow, some way steals one. They win it 6-5 in sudden death overtime. Tampa Bay still leads the series 2-1. MF, I know how high you were on this series, so I know this has got to be very high up on our list. So what do you got to say about this Sunshine State battle, Doc?
This one's the number 4 overall. This was a great series. This is turning into a great series. Look, so far the road teams have won all the games. Florida, what a comeback, man. That could be a momentum shifter for them. Even though I think Tampa will eventually win the series, but to win a game like that, where basically, like you said, they jumped out 2-0, then basically you get lit up. Then you give up. Really, the damage was done in the second period. Tampa jumps them for 5 goals. Cirelli, Kalan, Stamkos, Point, and Killorn all getting goals in that second period. It looked like it was going to be a bloodbath. It looked like it was going to be an absolute beat down. And here we go again. Tampa's being Tampa. Somebody did not give the Florida Panthers the memo, because here they come flying right back. Gets 2 goals to tie it, and then ends it 6 minutes into overtime. Oh my God, what a win for them. Great win, great moment. Look, when we come about Florida Panthers, there's not much to talk about. There isn't really much to talk about with Florida. Tampa's the team that normally gets the big market value. They're the ones that everybody talks about. They're the darlings in the NHL right now. Florida had one major glimpse at the Cup back in 1996. Has never been to the Cup Finals ever since that time. As a matter of fact, being in the playoffs is an anomaly for Florida. They've only been in here few and far in between. So for them to make it this far is an achievement in itself. You would think, they're just happy to be here. No, they want to win the series as well, and they do got the horses to do it. They got some players that could, if they put it together, they could string off 4 wins and win the series. But obviously, when you got Stamkos, you got Alex Killorn, you got Cirelli, you got all these guys, Braden Point, all these guys who's been here before, Stanley Cup quality players, guys who's made it to the dance, who can be there at the end. I just don't see it happening, guys. So I think it's going to go 6. I got Tampa winning the series. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Man, what a game tonight. This is the first postseason clash between the NHL's 2 Florida-based franchises. While the Tampa Bay Lightning are the Stanley Cup champions, the Panthers won 5 of the 8 games during the team's regular season series. The Lightning's deep talent core provides the team with a considerable edge in postseason experience over the Panthers. Andrei Vasilevsky is arguably the best goaltender in the league. However, they entered this series with a banged-up core. Sideline captains Steven Stamkos and winger Nikita Kucherov are returning to action, but top defenseman and Conn Smythe Trophy winner from last year, Victor Hedman, nursing a lower body injury. Led by forwards Alexander Barkov and Jonathan Huberdeau, the Panthers are itching to eliminate their closest rival. Head coach Joel Quenneville has done a fine job in turning this once moribund club into a solid playoff contender. They have coped well since March despite top defenseman Aaron Ekblad's absence with a fractured leg. Trade deadline acquisition Sam Bennett has provided a big boost to their offense. The Lightning are a tough opponent, but the Panthers are a rising force hungry for playoff success. However, I go with MF on this one. I mean, you got to go with the experience. Everybody knows how high I am on the Tampa Bay Lightning and their legendary bully hockey. I mean, MF and I know that all too well, going back 6 years. But anyways, yeah, it's going to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. 6 games. Even though going into this, I thought maybe there was a chance of an upset, but no, I don't think so. Tampa wins in 6. They're just too damn good. So not much more to say on that. So we'll move on to our next series. Another battle of Western Conference teams, as we will see. Well, actually, no, this is an East versus West matchup from the Central Division. We got the Nashville Predators squaring off against the Carolina Hurricanes. And I believe the Hurricanes are up 2-0 in this series, if I'm not mistaken. So I know the Hurricanes dominated in game 1, and I think they also dominated in game 2. So let me just check my notes on this series. Yeah, Carolina up 2-0. Carolina winning 5-2 in game 1, and then a 3-0 win in game number 2. Game 3 will be tomorrow night from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. And for fans of the Nashville Predators, it's a double-edged sword. Happy your team found its groove in early spring and rode the way to a postseason berth? Of course. What you may be a bit less thrilled about is facing the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes all but owned the Predators in the season series, winning 5 times in regulation and once in overtime through the first 6 meetings before Nashville captured wins in the final 2 games of both the series and the regular season, outscoring Carolina 8-1 in doing so. But while folks in Western Tennessee may call those evidence, it's hard to make a case anywhere else. The Hurricanes were 10 places above the Predators in overall team scoring, 11th in the league to 21st, and the trio of Alex Nedeljkovic, James Reimer, and Peter Mrazek combined for a .239 goals against average that was tied for 4th compared to Nashville's .275 in 12th. Carolina also has distinct advantages in both power play and penalty killing success and had 7 players produce more overall points than the Predators' leading scorer, defenseman Roman Josi, with 33. Can Nashville goalie UC Saros swipe a game on his own? Yeah, I suppose, but not more than that. Carolina wins the series in 5 games. MF, this is one of the rather easier series in the playoff year.
Yeah, this is kind of like the number, like the 6, 7, 8 spot. I'd probably say like number 7, number 8. I'm going to go with you as well. I'm going to say Carolina Hurricanes wins the series. This one should be relatively easy. So I really got nothing more to add. So Anthony, next series.
And next series, another battle of West. This is a battle of Western Conference teams. We got the St. Louis Blues squaring off against the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche. So before I give it to MF, just want to check my notes on this. Colorado up 2-0. Easy wins all around. They won 4-1 in game 1. And then the Avalanche won 6-3 in game 2. Game 3 in St. Louis at the Scott Trade Center tomorrow night. So St. Louis and Colorado, Colorado up 2-0. Must win for St. Louis here in game 3, or else it's going to be another open and shut series like our last series.
Yeah, it was. It definitely will be. No doubt about it. I think Colorado is going to win the series, though. It doesn't matter what they're going to do. They're just a team on a mission right now. They look like the best team right now in the NHL. I just don't see how they hang and compete at this level. I don't know. I'm a little shocked about it, but I'm just going to say it. At the end of the day, I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche. I think they're going to win this one, and I think it's either going to be in 5 or 6. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, absolutely. The Colorado Avalanche, winners of the President's Trophy, are the most formidable team the NHL has seen in years. Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen are bona fide superstars up front. Cale Makar, Devin Tays, and Sam Girard are far and away the best defensive trio in the league. General manager Joe Sakic has done a brilliant job filling out the rest of the roster with astute prospect development and savvy free agent signings. The closest thing they have to an Achilles heel is in goal. Although Philip Grubauer has played well in Colorado, he's benefited from easy workloads his entire NHL career and missed nearly 3 weeks in April because of COVID-19 protocols. The Blues, meanwhile, limped into the playoffs and are a shell of the 2019 team that won the Stanley Cup. Vladimir Tarasenko, Colton Parayko, and Vince Dunn have taken nosedives, and Torrey Krug has been a massive downgrade from Alex Pietrangelo. The team also lacks depth. The Blues' narrow path to a series victory is through goaltender Jordan Binnington. He struggled to start the year but has rediscovered peak form in the latter half of the season. The Blues will lean hard on center Ryan O'Reilly and defenseman Justin Falk. If the goaltending pendulum swings in St. Louis' direction, then they have a fighting chance. Otherwise, it should be Colorado in a rout. I think Colorado will win it in a sweep. I'm calling for a sweep. Four straight sweep for the Colorado Avalanche. So not much more to say here. 2 series left, and we move on to the Canadiens series, the battle of the Canadian teams. And we start with the Winnipeg Jets squaring off against the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton Oilers, actually, it's the Winnipeg Jets who are actually up 1-0 in the series. They won game 1 last night, 4-1. Game 2 will be tomorrow night in Edmonton. So here we are. For the first time in 31 years, the Edmonton Oilers are meeting the Winnipeg Jets in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. The Oilers took 7 of 9 games during their regular season series. The Jets have a dangerous top line in Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, and Kyle Connor, and solid goaltending in 2020 Vezina Trophy winner Connor Hellebuck. However, the loss of top 6 winger Nikolaj Ehlers to an upper body injury contributed to a 7-game losing skid down the stretch. Their blue line depth remains suspect. Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid's offensive exploits dominated the headlines, but also overshadowed his club's overall improvement. Leon Draisaitl sits second in league scoring behind his captain. Goaltender Mike Smith is having a superb season at age 38, and their depth players are more seasoned. The Oilers' special teams are also among the league's best, with the power play ranking first and the penalty kill 10th. The Oilers never lost to the Jets in their 6 previous playoff series. Expect that streak to be extended to 7. They may have stumbled last night out of the gate, but I still think the Edmonton Oilers are going to win this series. I got the Edmonton Oilers winning this series in 6 games. So not much more to say. MF, Connor McDavid with the season of his life, scoring over 100 points in just 56 games. Imagine what he could have done in a full season.
Oh, my God. I mean, I think Wayne Gretzky's record would have been broken. I mean, Connor McDavid is the Hart Memorial Trophy winner in my eyes. When you get 100 points in 56 games and you get only 100 points already, dude, you're a Hart Memorial Trophy winner. You're going to be one of the best players in the world. There's no doubt about it. Edmonton's been waiting for a time like this. There's been teams out there for a number of years, and they want to end the drought. There's been a big drought in Canadian teams. They have not won the Stanley Cup since 1993 with the Montreal Canadiens. And as far as Edmonton goes, they have not won the Stanley Cup since 1990. That's the last time that they won the Stanley Cup. So this is without a doubt. Their greatest opportunity, their greatest chance of winning the Stanley Cup with Connor McDavid, with the team that they got. There's no doubt in my mind. This is going to be the moment that they've been waiting for, and they're going to produce it, and it's going to happen. Edmonton wins the series in 6. Anthony, there's only one series left, and it's the biggest of them all.
And when you hear those words, you know who's doing it. It's us. And oh boy, did we have fun tonight, although we did have a very scary turn of events at the start of this game. But nonetheless, MF and I made a decree, when we get to playoff time. Normally, it's the biggest series. It's the most star-powered and most exciting and most compelling series. In this case, it would have been Boston and Washington. However, the decree that we made a long time ago was, if at any time an original 6 series pops up, it's automatic. And we're doing it. It's an original 6 battle. The 2 winningest Stanley Cup championship teams of all time, 2 teams that have a combined 37 Stanley Cups between them. The Montreal Canadiens squaring off with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 1 was tonight at the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, and it was the Montreal Canadiens who came away with the win 2-1. Carey Price picking up his 31st career NHL playoff win, but we had a scary moment at the start of the game. John Tavares. Oh boy, that was hard to watch. Very hard to watch. He collided with Corey Perry, suffered some head and neck issues. They brought out a stretcher. Very scary. We hope he's okay. And, we wish him the best. And hopefully a speedy recovery will be coming soon forth. But nonetheless, MF, this is, when we heard this series was happening, we marked like crazy, man, because, Montreal and Toronto, the 2 most decorated Stanley Cup champions of all time, 37 cups between the 2, 24 for Montreal, 13 for Toronto. Montreal, of course, like you said, the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup in 93, but Toronto hasn't won it since 1967, and this just might be the best chance they have at doing so and ending that long drought.
Not only that, but this is the best Toronto Maple Leafs team that they've had going into a postseason for a number of years. And Toronto's been here. They've had opportunities to get out of the first round, but for some odd reason, they're just unlucky. They just doesn't get by. They can't get through. Some people are frustrated saying, why? You're so good. Well, without a doubt, this is the best moment you can have. For them to make it this far, to me, there's really nothing more to add. Here we go, guys. This is it. It's going to be an incredible series. It's going to be an incredible battle. At the end of the day, I got to go with the Maple Leafs. I think Toronto just have enough weapons to get by. But, Anthony, I'm going to say it. I would not be shocked if Montreal wins it. And more importantly, this will guaranteed go 7. I just don't see how this goes less. This is going to be hard-hitting. It's going to be brutal. Yes, the John Tavares injury almost affected the way I thought about this entire series. And I really mean it. We're going to have to keep it a watchful eye. We're going to have to be very honest here. That injury almost made me pick Montreal to win the series. If he would have gone out, this would have been a totally different prediction. But I think Toronto will have just enough, and they will win the series. So Toronto wins it in 7. Anthony, it's yours.
Going in, I had Toronto winning in 5, but I might have to rethink that now after tonight. Anyways, Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens, playoffs. Need we say more? The hockey mad fans from Canada's 2 most hockey mad cities will be in competitive bliss for the next couple weeks as their teams lock horns in the chase for the Stanley Cup for the first time in 42 years, 1979. On paper, it's a mismatch. The Leafs have been the class of the North for much of the season, and these days find themselves 5 points ahead of second-place Edmonton and a full 18 up on Montreal. The 4th-seeded Canadiens, meanwhile, started strong, but soon hit a tailspin that cost Coach Claude Julien his job in late February. Scoring has not been a primary concern for either, thanks to the prolific output of Toronto's Austin Matthews, 41 goals, and Montreal's Tyler Toffoli, 28 goals. But goaltending might be after injury sideline starters Frederik Andersen and Carey Price for significant parts of the season. The Leafs turned to Jack Campbell, 17, 2-2, 2-1-1 goals against in the interim, while the Canadiens have Jake Allen, 11, 12, and 5, 2-6-8. Both Anderson and Price have returned to health, though it is not quite clear who will take the crease. But regardless, for the Habs to have a chance, it will have to be a hot Carey Price or Jake Allen that provides it. Like I said, going into this series, I had Toronto winning in 5. Could still happen. I mean, Toronto would have to win the next 4 out for that to happen, but I don't see that happening. I think this series could go 6, maybe even 7, but I got to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the best chance I've seen for this team. I mean, they've only had, I believe, two close chances at getting back to the Stanley Cup. 1993, that legendary team that had Doug Gilmour and Wendell Clark and Felix Potvin made it to the Western Conference. Well, they made it to back-to-back Western Conference finals in 93 and 94, but they lost both of those years. They lost to LA in 7 and 93 and lost in 5 to Vancouver in 94. And then in 2002, they got back to the conference finals before losing to the upstart Carolina Hurricanes. So this may be the best chance in almost 2 decades that this team has had to make a deep Stanley Cup run. They may have taken one on the chin tonight, but I still think they'll find a way to win this series. So I am going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs to win this series. So Toronto, you better hope and pray you win this series, because if you don't, MF's going to be all over you. Because I remember when we did our preview last year, MF went on the record and called them choke artists. So we'll see what happens that. If they lose this series, I mean, they'll definitely have that label again.
No, but the thing is that the reason why was because they had the series won. Not once, Columbus, but twice. They had Boston on the ropes and they had Columbus on the ropes, and they lost the series both times. That's why I went after them and called them choke artists. If they lose it because they got dominated, I'm not going after them. But if they have a lead and they have a chance to close the series out and they blow it, then I go after them. I just don't go after them for any reason. No. I'm not like that.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. So, all right. So with that being said, let's now move on to the NBA playoffs, and we have some developments in that. The Eastern Conference is all set. The Boston, there was a play-in game. They have this play-in tournament. The Boston Celtics on Tuesday night, they defeated the Washington Wizards 118-100. So the Boston Celtics, with that win, clinched the number 7 seed, and they will be squaring off against the number 2 seed, the Brooklyn Nets. And earlier tonight, we had another play-in game between the Indiana Pacers and the Washington Wizards, where the winner would get the 8th seed and would square off against the top-seeded Philadelphia 76ers. That was the Washington Wizards. They defeated the Indiana Pacers 142-115. So the Eastern Conference is all set. Over in the West, the reigning, defending NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers, they survived. What a game against the Golden State Warriors. Definitely lived up to the hype. 5-star classic, Shakespearean drama. And the Lakers, 103-100. The Lakers they lock up the number 7 seed, and they'll be squaring off against the number 2 seed, the Phoenix Suns. Only one series is yet to be determined. We don't know who the number 1 seed Utah Jazz will be facing. We won't know that until tomorrow night. They'll be facing either the Memphis Grizzlies or the Golden State Warriors when they have their play-in game tomorrow night in Oakland. But now that we're all caught up, let's get into the first series. And we're going to go in the order of series start like we did for our last one. And that will be a return match. A return match from one of the series we saw in the bubble last year. I believe this is the number 6 seed versus the number 3 seed in this case. It will be the number 6 seed, the reigning, defending Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat. And they will be squaring off against the number 3 seed, the Milwaukee Bucks. The series will start at 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon for game number 1. So here we are. After finishing with the league's best record and then failing to reach the finals each of the last 2 years, the Milwaukee Bucks were given the quote-unquote, let's see what you do in the playoffs treatment all season. They made changes to their roster, upgrading at point guard with the addition of Drew Holiday, and then acquiring PJ Tucker at the trade deadline. They made changes to their offense, spacing the floor differently and attacking the glass more aggressively. And they made changes to their defense, switching screens and playing zone more often. They took a huge step backward on that end of the floor, hoping that adaptability is more important than consistency in the postseason. The postseason is here, and appropriately, the Bucks will have an immediate opportunity to exercise their demons with a first-round series against the Miami Heat, the team that eliminated them in 5 games in last year's conference semifinals. The Heat have had an up-and-down season, seeing little carryover from their run to the finals last year, but they still have the elements. Jimmy Butler, flammable three-point shooting, and rim protection to test or beat the Bucks again. The top 3 teams in the East have been head and shoulders above the rest of the conference all season, but the Heat are that tough-out lower seed with experience and toughness that the top 3 might have hoped to avoid. The Bucks got them, and there's no time like the first round to see if the offseason and regular season changes they've made can produce better postseason results. 3 things to watch for. Number 1, Jimmy Butler makes a big difference. Butler didn't play in any of the 3 regular season meetings between these 2 teams in last year's series. Butler led the Heat with 23.4 points a game, shooting 53% from the field and getting to the line for 10.8 attempts per night, while also being his usually disruptive self on defense. This season, the Heat were 11.1 points per 100 possessions better with Butler on the floor than they were with him off the floor, with significant differentials on both offense and defense. So there's not much to be taken from a regular season series that didn't include one team's most important player. Still, there remains a question of how many minutes Butler can play and how the Heat would withstand those minutes he's on the bench. 2, how much does Tucker play the 5? The Bucks acquired Tucker for more versatility and switchability on defense. A lineup with a front line of Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Tucker can switch all screens, keep Duncan Robinson from breaking free, and make it tougher for Butler and Goran Dragic to get downhill. But in Tucker's 20 regular season games with the Bucks, he played just 56 total minutes alongside Antetokounmpo in lineups that didn't include another big. You can envision a scenario where that total gets surpassed in a long playoff series, maybe in this one. It would help if Tucker was a little more eager to shoot on the other end of the floor. He's attempted just 46 shots, 31 of them corner threes in his 397 minutes since arriving at the trade deadline. And 3, will Adebayo switch or stay? Bam Adebayo is one of the league's most liberal switchers of ball screens, and there's not a better big man at defending guards one-on-one. But when he switches on to guards, he can create an undesirable situation elsewhere on the floor. And there may not be a more undesirable situation than Antetokounmpo being defended by a guard. In the regular season, Adebayo was Antetokounmpo's primary defender and did switch ball screens less often than he did against other teams. But he did still switch some. He'll switch more in this series, and that's when the chess match starts. The number to know is 5.7. This could be a pace battle more than any other first-round series. The Bucks ranked second in the league in pace, averaging 102.8 possessions per 48 minutes. Heat ranked 29th, averaging just 97.1, 5.7 fewer than Milwaukee. Miami's offense wasn't exceedingly slow. The Heat ranked 17th in the percent of their possessions that were in transition, but they allowed just 10.4 fast break points per game, fewest for any team in the last 3 years. The Bucks won the pace battle in the regular season series, which averaged 103.2 possessions per team per 48 minutes. The Bucks' 31 fast break points on December 29 were both their own season high and the most for any team against the Heat, but they had just 10 in each of the other 2 meetings, and the Heat won the fastest pace game of the 3. 2 of those games took place in December, and all 3 took place without Jimmy Butler. Last year's conference semifinal series was a similar pace battle, and it was played much slower, 97.6, than the regular season series, 105.2. The Heat had the Bucks number last year, scoring efficiently against the league's number 1 defense over the first 3 games, and winning an ugly Game 5 without Antetokounmpo to close out the series. And by the numbers, the Bucks team isn't as good as that one was. But this Heat team isn't as good as that Heat team was either. Miami had a top 10 defense, and the offense picked up late in the season, but even as they started to put it together, the Heat struggled to beat the best teams in the league. They were 12-21, 6-9 after the All-Star break against the other 14 teams that finished with winning records. They were 17-14 against the teams that finished over 500 last season. The potential for an upset is there, but we haven't seen enough from this version of the Heat to predict another upset against a team that remains a title contender and has been preparing for this series for 5 months. I got the Milwaukee Bucks winning this series in 6 games. So not much more to say, MF. I think Milwaukee gets their revenge. Milwaukee wins in 6. What do you say?
I think this is going to go 7. I think it's going to be a hard fought series. I'm with you, Anthony. I kind of feel like Milwaukee's going to win this, even though I kind of feel like I wouldn't be shocked or I would not be surprised if Miami does it again, gets them a second time. But I'm with you. I think Milwaukee's going to figure out a way. They'll get the job done. And I do believe that the Milwaukee Bucks will win this, will finally figure it out, and they will win this series. So I really got nothing more to add. So, Anthony, it is yours.
All right, and we're going to set up for our next matchup. We're going to go to the West. We're going to see the number 5 seed, the Dallas Mavericks, against the number 4 seed, the Los Angeles Clippers. Series starts at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon. So, MF, Luka Doncic and the Mavericks against the LA Clippers. This could be a fun series.
I believe so, too. I think it's going to be a very interesting series. I think it's going to be very heavily competitive, very interesting matchup, to say the very least. I kind of feel like the Clippers are going to get the job done, though. Look, I know there's a lot of people that is like, oh, but they were ducking the Lakers, they're ducking the Lakers. You know what? At the end of the day, look, you got to play the games, you got to handle your business, you got to do what you got to do. And they wanted it to rest their starters to get ready for this series. Luka's going to go nuts. Luka's going to get his. It's just, can you shut down the role players of Dallas? Because if Luka gets going and his role players gets going, it's a wrap. Goodbye, LA. They're corners. But Kawhi Leonard, PG-13, Paul George, and the guys, this is why they came back, because they wanted a redemption. You know, a year ago, a lot of people thought they were going to make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. A lot of people thought they were going to go all the way to the NBA Finals. It never happened. Now they have a chance to rewrite a wrong that happened a year ago. This was their opportunity to shine. They got a tough matchup. There's no doubt about it. Dallas is no slouch. But I think this is the most interesting 4-5 coming in. But I think the 4 is going to go over the 5. It's going to be 6 games, but I got the LA Clippers advancing to the next round of the playoffs. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut down a little bit. I'm gonna start from 3 things to know and just go from there. I'm not gonna do any of that fancy intro stuff. Just get to the 3 things to watch. For this series. 1, Kristaps Porzingis is the most talented big man in the series. And if he dominates a rather average group of Clipper centers, then that's a major plus for the Mavs. Every analysis of Porzingis always starts with a disclaimer: if he's healthy. Injuries always trip him up, and they did last fall in the bubble. He's healthy now and can space the floor and supply rim protection. His performance will both help dictate how long the series goes and shape what hopes the Mavs have of an upset. 2, who will get the lion's share of minutes at point guard for the Clippers? Most likely, this will be done by committee. Pat Beverly just recently returned from injury, and Reggie Jackson has played well all season. And then there's Rondo, who was acquired in a midseason trade for this very reason. Coach Ty Lue will go with his gut, which obviously will be dictated by whomever does the best job against Doncic. 3, certainly there's some face saving at stake for George, who was abysmal in last year's playoffs, including a fourth quarter meltdown in Game 7 against Denver. That led to a summer of personal soul-searching in the brief off-season. George's checkered playoff history simply doesn't match his regular season accomplishments. And this has put him on the spot. He'll need to make a strong statement in the first round, if only to keep the internet from making jokes at his expense, but also to gain the confidence of his teammates. Plus, it'll do wonders for his own confidence. The Clippers may not need his A game against Dallas, but they need George in order to have any hopes of emerging from the West. His redemption tour starts now. The number to know is 43%. The top of the Western Conference has been a jump shooting party. The 6 teams who took fewer than 45% of their shots from in the paint this season all finished in the top 8 in the West, with the Denver Nuggets 47% in 18th and the LA Lakers 49% 11th, being the exceptions to the rule. The Clippers 43.1% and Mavs 42.8% finished 27th and 28th respectively in the percentage of their shots that came in the paint. So while LA saw a small increase late in the season, this promises to be the jump shootingest series in the first round. The Clippers shot 41.1% from 3 range, the 4th best mark in NBA history. They have a league-high 7 players who shot 38% or better on at least 100 attempts from beyond the arc. But 2 of their 4 worst three-point shooting games of the year came against the Mavs, with the worst being the December 27th game. They lost by 51 points. Over the 3-game series, the Mavs outscored the Clippers by 65 points from outside the paint. The Mavs offense is less dependent on jumpers, ranking much higher in turnover rate, 3rd versus 14th, and free throw rate, 15th versus 27th than the Clippers. The Clips are a little less dependent on their offense, ranking much higher defensively, 8th versus 21st than the Mavs, but it could be a make or miss series. The Clippers are right with the Utah Jazz as the most dangerous three-point shooting team in the playoffs. Their volume shooters from that distance are either above or near 40%. Jackson, Leonard, George, Morris, Luke Kennard, and Nick Batum. That's impressive because the Clippers can spread the floor, and if 1 or 2 players go cold, no matter, there's plenty in reserve. The Mavs lack the number of quality perimeter defenders it will take to make the Clippers scrap that game plan. Then, of course, the Clippers have a pair of championship-tested veterans in Rondo and Leonard, who once again is playing at a high level. This team has much to prove and the incentive to do it against Dallas. I got the Clippers winning this series, 5 games. So now let's move on to maybe the most compelling first-round series in the Eastern Conference. And it's going to start in prime time on ABC Saturday night at 8 o'clock. The number 7 seed, the Boston Celtics, squaring off against the number 2 seed, the Brooklyn Nets, from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 8 o'clock, like I said, prime time, Saturday night. And you want to talk about a knockdown, drag-out series, this is going to be it. Oh, man. So, we start with the 3 things we need to know about this series. Well, the 3 things to watch, rather. 1, how connected will the Nets be defensively? As long as they don't get too stagnant, the Nets shouldn't have many concerns on offense. James Harden and Kyrie Irving define their roles early in the season, and there are no fit issues with Kevin Durant, who can make something out of nothing on any possession. But all those missed games could affect the Nets on defense, where their talent can't necessarily overcome a lack of cohesion. Switching schemes takes time to master, and the Nets haven't had that time. They ranked 22nd defensively in the regular season, and in the 24 years prior to this one, for which play-by-play data exists, only 2 teams have ranked lower than 11th on either end of the floor and gone on to win the championship. Those were the 2001 LA Lakers, 22nd on defense, and the 2004 Detroit Pistons, 19th on offense. 2, all eyes on Kemba Walker. Jason Tatum is an ascending star, and he totaled 69 points on 27 for 49, 55% shooting over the last 2 meetings with the Nets. But he can't match Brooklyn's firepower by himself. If the Celtics are to have a chance, they'll need Walker to play big. But Walker had an up-and-down season, seeing a big drop-off in how well he shot from mid-range. But he's seen an increase in usage rate since Brown last played and has scored 29 points or more in 4 of his last 5. He played in only 1 of the 3 meetings with Brooklyn on March 11th, scoring just 11 points in 34 minutes, even though DeAndre Jordan's pick-and-roll defense provided him some good looks off the dribble. And 3, the Brooklyn rotation. Jordan has been the odd man out on the Nets' front line of late. Even with LaMarcus Aldridge having retired, Brooklyn has 3 other options: Nicholas Claxton, Blake Griffin, and Jeff Green at center, with Griffin having started the last 6 games of the regular season and Claxton having played more than 20 minutes off the bench in each of the last 4. Just as interesting as the center minutes will be how Nets coach Steve Nash staggers the minutes of his 3 stars. Which of them, likely Harden, gets solo minutes, and how much time they're all on the floor together. The number to know is 51.5%. The Nets don't just have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, 3 of the 13 players that averaged 24 points or more on a true shooting percentage better than 60% this year. They also have the shooter who led the league in 3-point percentage for the second time in 3 years. Joe Harris, 47.5% from beyond the arc, was the second best mark in NBA history for a player with at least 400 attempts from the 3. Topped only by Kyle Korver's 49.2% in the 2014-15 season. The attention that the Nets' 3 stars draw leaves other players open, and there's not a better shooter not named Steph Curry to have open on the weak side than Harris. He shot 51.5% on catch-and-shoot threes, the best mark for a player with at least 200 catch-and-shoot attempts in 8 seasons of player tracking. That's a remarkable yield of 1.55 points per shot, almost as good as a DeAndre Jordan attempt in the restricted area, 1.60. The Nets are not invulnerable, especially if they're not in a great rhythm after a long layoff. Their defense is error-prone and their focus can wane. They had the league's 4th best record, but ranked 12th, tied with the Celtics with only 12 wins by 15 or more points, needing clutch time to finish teams off more often than they should have. But they're not playing any more regular season games against the Detroit Pistons. The playoffs should elicit greater focus, and if they're locked in from the opening tip, the Nets should be able to take care of business against a shorthanded opponent. Much tougher challenges await. I got Brooklyn winning this series in a clean 4-0 sweep. I know it might be a little too steep, but I just don't trust the Celtics. They're very shorthanded. So Nets in a clean 4-0 sweep. MF, what do you say?
I kind of disagree. I think Boston will at least get one game out of the series, but I am in an agreement with you. I think they're going to get the job done. I just think the Nets are just, they're just too powerful. They're too good, and I just don't. Unfortunately, I'm with you, Florio. I just don't think they're going to hang, and at the end, it's over. I got Boston knocked out of the first round in 5 games. I think the Brooklyn Nets will get the job done. They will advance. They move on to the next round of the playoffs. Anthony, it's yours.
And the fourth and final game of the Saturday quadruple header, late start. You could call this after dark, if you will. 10:30 tip off at 10:30 from the Western Conference. We have the number 6 seed, the Portland Trailblazers, squaring off against the number 3 seed, the Denver Nuggets, the Pepsi Center in Denver. So, MF, you remember Denver made it all the way to the conference finals last year. Do they have another deep run in them this year?
I think they do have another deep run in them this year, and I do think that the Denver Nuggets will win this first series. I just think that they'll get the job done here. So I'm going to say this will probably be in 6. Denver should advance into the next round of the playoffs. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. Let me find this. All right. We start with the 3 things to watch for this series. 1, depth for both teams. The loss of Murray somewhat limits Denver's offensive potential, but let's also remember the Nuggets have played without Monty Morris or Will Barton for long periods as they've combined to miss 21 games. How's their health? Barton, hamstring, sat out the regular season finale against Portland, and Morris just recently returned to the lineup after missing 12 straight games due to a hamstring strain. Porter and new addition Aaron Gordon are more than capable of combining to replace Murray's production. They also give Denver some athleticism on defense and rebounding. The Blazers bench, meanwhile, struggled for the better part of the regular season. Portland added what it expected to be improved defense on the wing in the offseason, but those moves never really proved fruitful. The Blazers finished the regular season ranked 29th in defensive rating. 2, how Denver defends the three-pointer. Portland ranks number 2 in the league in three-point attempts at 40.8 per game. And the scary part is the Blazers knocked them down, ranking 6th in three-point percentage at 38.5%. Denver allowed an average of 35.7 three-pointers per game during the regular season, which ranks as 22nd in the league, with opponents connecting on just 36.3% of those attempts. Gordon should help tremendously in this area, as his athleticism and versatility should somewhat limit Lillard and McCollum's ability to stretch Denver's defense. Lillard has drained better than 44% from range in 3 of his last 5 games against the Nuggets and drilled better than 54% in 2 of those outings. 3, experience versus experience. This series marks Portland's 8th consecutive playoff appearance, while the Nuggets are on their 3rd straight. Both teams are well-versed with all the nuances of ultra-high-stakes basketball, and there's plenty of familiarity between the teams. Most importantly, both teams are hungry to live up to the potential they've displayed over the years with deep postseason runs. What we do is give ourselves a chance every postseason, and we go into it believing we could be a team that can make a run, Lillard said. If we don't believe that, then we don't have a chance. We're coming into this postseason not saying it's our 8th straight. We're coming in trying to make something happen. The Nuggets share similar sentiments. The number to know is 0.83. The Nuggets defense allowed just 0.83 points per possession, the league's lowest mark, from pick and roll ball handlers. They played pick and rolls relatively aggressively, with Nikola Jokic coming up to the level of the screen a lot more than most centers around the league. That kind of defense makes it tough for the ball handler to score and or shoot efficiently. And that seems like a good strategy against the Blazers, the team that scored 1 point per possession, 1.00 points per possession on ball handler possessions. The best mark in 17 seasons of synergy tracking. Last season, Damian Lillard set the best individual mark, 1.15 per possession in those 17 years. This season, he and CJ McCollum were 2 of the 9 players who scored at least a point per possession on 7 or more ball handler possessions per game. The Nuggets won the regular season series 2-1, and rested their starters in the second half of the Blazers' win on Sunday. But the Blazers, who had the league's second-ranked offense overall, scored more than 122 points per 100 possessions over the 3 games. According to Second Spectrum tracking, only Brooklyn, on less than half as many plays, was more efficient against Denver when sending a ball screen. Portland's 29th-ranked defense will have issues stopping the Nuggets on the other end of the floor, but Jokic's ability to contain and contest Lillard and McCollum will be under the spotlight in this series. No doubt Portland's defense toward the end of the regular season was much better than its final regular season rankings indicate, but that area remains an issue for the Blazers, which faces a high-powered Denver squad that finished the season number 6 in offensive rating, 116.3. You can expect plenty of high-scoring nights in this series as Portland is number 2 in offensive rating, 117.1, but this series will ultimately come down to how the respective supporting casts complement Lillard and Jokic, as well as the team's bench units. Denver appears to own the advantage in both categories. This series goes to distance. Denver Nuggets win it in 7. So let's move on to the Sunday slate of action. We go to the Eastern Conference in a game that will tip off at 1 o'clock on Sunday, as it will be the number 8 seed in the East, the Washington Wizards, against the number 1 seed in the East, the Philadelphia 76ers. And I don't think I have a full in-depth preview on this one. So, but what I do know is I gotta go with Philly here. Hold on, maybe I can make something out of this. All right. I don't have a full preview because this series just came about. So I think this should be a relatively easy series here. I think the series will go at least 5, and I think the Philadelphia 76ers will win in 5. I don't have an in-depth preview of this series because it just came about. So, and that's pretty much how it's going to be for the top seed series because of these playing games. So I'm just gonna go on the whim here, and I'm just gonna say Philly wins in 5. So not much more to say. MF, your thoughts, and I'll set up the next series.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When it comes to this series here, you got to go with Philly. You kind of feel like they're going to be the team that's going to really open it up, even though you got to give a lot of credit where credit is due. A lot of people believe that this is going to be an easy sweep for Philly. Look, I think Philly's going to do a lot of good things. Look, they're when it comes to Philadelphia, as it comes to the team rankings, you're going up against a team that actually scores about 104 points a game on the pace. So, I mean, they're ranked the first. Field goal percentage, Philly's actually is a little better on that. 3-point is where Philly really thrives. 3-point field goals, 3-point shooting, free throws is where is actually advantage Washington. And rebounding almost even, offensive rebounding major advantage for Philadelphia. But the thing is the assists. And normally they kind of turn it over a little more. So at the end of the day, it's kind of a back and forth battle. But no, when it comes to offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, when it comes to that, Philly dominates in that more than anything else. So, I mean, I think Philly should win this series. This should be pretty comfortable, but I think it's going to be at least 5 or 6 games. So, I really got nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's yours next series.
And that next series, which will tip off on Sunday afternoon at 3:30 from the Western Conference, the number 7 seed, your reigning and defending NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers, and MF, they are going to have their hands full with the number 2 seed, the Phoenix Suns, and we know the playoff history between these two now, don't we?
Oh yeah, this goes all the way back to 1990. It goes back to way back in the day, all the way back to even 1993. Was one of the times where Phoenix actually got to the NBA Finals. And you know, look, whatever the case may be, these two teams are always going at it. Look, here's the thing. If LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy and are together, they're the most dominant team in the NBA today. Nobody can stop them. But Phoenix this year has been on a mission. They, without a doubt, have been the best team that I really think should be the number one seed, and as a matter of fact, are at least in my mind, the perennial favorites to go to the NBA Finals. They're my pick. The one thing I don't like is I don't like this matchup, and I really don't. Overall play, body of work, everything that's incorporated, I gotta say it's the Lakers' advantage. And I think, and again, if LeBron's on his game, if AD is on his game, I believe they win the series and the Lakers move on. And it's very possible. This is a head versus a heart situation. My head is saying the Lakers. My heart is saying Phoenix. I'm going to go with my heart this time around. Phoenix wins in 7 to advance to the second round of the playoffs. But I would not, I repeat, I would not be shocked if the Lakers advances to the next round. Because like I said, if all their pieces are healthy and everybody's together, the Lakers are unstoppable. And they are the most dangerous number 7 seed in the West than any other team. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, and we have we're back to a full preview here. 3 things to watch. Number 1, the Battle of the Bigs. Ayton sat out of Phoenix's last 3 games of the regular season due to a knee injury, but he said on Wednesday he'll be ready to go for Game 1. I feel great, to be honest, he said. That's definitely positive news for the Suns because defending the Lakers' inside combination of Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond won't be easy for Ayton and Crowder. Phoenix won 2 of the 3 regular season meetings between these teams, but Davis played in only one of those games, a 123-110 Lakers win on Mother's Day, May 9th. Let's also not forget about LA's depth inside with Montrezl Harrell, Markieff Morris, and Marc Gasol. The Lakers rank number 6 in the league in points in the paint, while Phoenix is 26th in that category. 2, expect plenty of defense. The Lakers allow opponents to connect on just 35.2% of their attempts from long range, and the Suns are pretty stout in that department too, limiting teams to 35.4% from deep. Los Angeles leads the NBA in defensive rating 106.8, while the Suns are number 6, 110.4. The Lakers will commit plenty of resources to shutting down Devin Booker and Chris Paul, so the Suns supporting cast needs to step up in a major way. Phoenix owns the advantage in continuity, considering it has been together virtually the entire season, while Davis and LeBron James have missed a combined 63 games. James and Davis will quickly round into form. It was good to get that first playoff punch out of the way, James said last night. It wasn't comfortable, but it settled us. 3, Phoenix's lack of playoff experience. You'd think that could put the Suns at a major disadvantage because 3 of their starters, Booker, Ayton, and Michael Bridges, are making their postseason debuts. But that's where the experience of Paul and Crowder should help Phoenix tremendously on the floor, especially with the former running the team from the point guard spot. Game 1 will mark the first postseason meeting between Paul and James. I get jitters before every game, Paul said. I always say the day that I stop getting them, I need to retire. I'm excited and nervous at the same time going into every game. It's exciting more than anything. For the playoffs, there's nothing like it, the intensity of it. You're not coming off a back-to-back. You've got time to prepare. The number to know is 2.15. The Suns led the league in assist-turnover ratio, and their ratio of 2.15 was the second highest in the 44 seasons for which turnovers has been counted. League-wide, the last 5 seasons have produced the 5 highest ratios of those 44 years, with the league's ratio of 1.79 this season being the highest. So the Suns are in part riding the wave, but they also have one of the best point guards in NBA history in regard to taking care of the ball. Paul's career assist-turnover ratio of 3.92 is the 3rd highest, behind only those of Muggsy Bogues and John Paxson, among players who played at least 10,000 minutes over the last 44 years. This season, Paul ranked 2nd in the league at 3.99. Lakers had the league's number 1 defense in part because they ranked 4th in opponent turnover rate, 15.2 per 100 possessions. In their play-in win last night, the defending champs forced 20 turnovers out of the Warriors, including 15 in the second half. With their size and athleticism, the Lakers can be as disruptive as any team on that end of the floor. And when they can get live ball turnovers, they can run and alleviate some of their offensive issues. In the Suns' 2 wins over the Lakers this season, Paul totaled 23 assists and had just 3 turnovers. But the Lakers' May 9 win was one of the 5 times this season where he had 5 or more turnovers. That isn't the be-all and end-all statistic when it comes to these two teams, but the Suns' ability to take care of the ball against the Lakers' defense will affect both ends of the floor. The prediction here, it's a little weird to see a number 7 seed favored over a number 2 seed for the opening round, but the Lakers experienced some extenuating circumstances during the regular season due to James and Davis missing time with injuries. In Los Angeles' play-in victory against the Warriors, you could see in the second half the Lakers were starting to find some rhythm and cohesion. That will only improve as the first round series progresses against the Suns. Knowing that we're the defending champs, nothing's going to be easy for us because we do have a target on our back and every team wants to beat us, David said last night. So we've got to know that. We've got to come out a lot better than we did against Phoenix in that playoff series. But I disagree, MF. I got the Lakers winning. I'm going with the Lakers to win this series in 6 games. So we'll see what happens. And then our next series in the Eastern Conference, no question about it, this is the sleeper series right here. Who would have expected we would see these two teams in the postseason this year? We got the number 5 seed, the Atlanta Hawks, squaring off against, and I can't believe I'm saying this, a number 4 seed, the New York Knicks. Can you believe that? New York Knicks in the postseason for the first time since 2013. And the road to this series goes through Madison Square Garden. Unbelievable. First time for the Hawks since 2016, oh, by the way, as well. The 3 things to watch. Number 1, point guard matchup. Looks like a blowout. Atlanta's Trae Young will get some love on all NBA ballots, owing to his 25.3 points a game and 9.4 assists a game. He makes the Hawks attack go, spoon-feeding Clint Capella and John Collins easy buckets around the rim. He averaged 24.7 and 12 in 3 games versus New York. Point guard for the Knicks, by contrast, has been a sore spot for much of the season. Elfrid Payton gets the starts, but Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, rookie Emmanuel Quickley, and Frank Ntilikina all have logged time there as Thibodeau deal with injuries and flip through various not great options. 2, has Randle run out of gas yet? Julius Randle will dominate in the Kia Most Improved voting and get some nods on Kia MVP ballots, indicative of the heavy lifting he's done for New York. The next step in his first taste of the postseason is to thrive when your opponent has 2 weeks and multiple games to choke you out of the game plan. Collins, Capella, and other fresh Atlanta bodies will target this head of the Knicks snake. 3, the sag when the starters sit. New York ranked 3rd in bench scoring per 48 minutes since the All-Star break, 105.2, compared to Atlanta's 95.6. Big gap, except that benches matter more in quality than quantity in the playoffs as rotations typically tighten. The Hawks' bench numbers get blurred too, got blurred too, but they're by their heavy load of injuries all season. Besides, Atlanta's edge for starters over the same chunk of schedule is 124.5 to 108.7. The number to know is 6.2. The Knicks ranked 4th in the league defensively, allowing 107.8 points per 100 possessions, 4.6 fewer than they did last season when they ranked 23rd. When you take into account that the league average jumped by 1.6 points per 100 possessions, that's a year-to-year improvement of 6.2 per 100, the best year-to-year defensive improvement of the last 7 years. And the Knicks did that with 64% of their minutes coming from guys who were on the roster last year. Nerlens Noel, the only player in the league to average at least 1 steal and 2 blocks a game, was a huge addition. But most of the improvement came from within. The Hawks, meanwhile, went from the bottom 10 to the top 10 on offense, seeing the league's 2nd biggest jump in points scored per 100 possessions at plus 7.3. They saw the biggest drop in turnover rate, its 2nd biggest jump in offensive rebounding percentage, and its 5th biggest jump in free throw rate. Of course, when these two teams met in the regular season, it was the other end of the floor that determined things. The Knicks ranked 22nd offensively overall, but had the 2nd most efficient offense, 123.1 points per 100 possessions against Atlanta. Identical 41-31 records suggest an even matchup, as does the two teams' late season success. Atlanta went 7-1 to close, New York 16-4. Neither team totes much playoff experience into this, particularly among key guys such as Randle 0 and Young 0. Even the Knicks 3-0 regular season sweep doesn't fully translate since 2 of the victories came while Pierce still was on the Hawks bench. Home court advantage, especially with Madison Square Garden letting in about 5,700 fans for the playoffs, might be enough to swing this. 7-game series, I'm going with the New York Knicks to win this series in 7 games. Something about Madison Square Garden, and MF and I know that very well from the other team that occupies that arena. So there isn't much more to say on this. 7-game series, I'm going with the New York Knicks to win it. MF, I mean, New York Knicks. When was the last time this team was any good? Look at them.
I know. Trust me, Spike Lee, Fat Joe, Stephen A. Smith, they've been going crazy on social media the last few days. So amped up. I've never seen it like it. The Mecca is back. The New York Metropolitans are back. They are looking better than ever. And, you got to give it to Tom Thibodeau, the former coach of the Chicago Bulls, the former assistant coach of the Boston Celtics, the former coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He just brings the best out of this team. Wherever team he does, he emphasizes on defense, defense, defense. And look at the New York Knicks, near the top of all defensive categories in the NBA this year. Then you got guys like Derrick Rose, who's found the fountain of youth. You got guys like Julius Randle, who could become the most, who might end up being the most improved player in the NBA this year. So the New York Knicks, from top to bottom, a team that was literally in the gutter, now looks like they actually have promise. They actually have what looks like possibly a big run, very possible down the line. To me, this is a great opportunity, a great battle, a great war. I think New York gets the job done. 7 games. I'm with you, Florio, on this. The New York Knicks advances to the second round. And oh my God, it's going to be party hardy time in MSG if they get through that first round. It's going to be a madhouse in MSG if they win this series. The 5 boroughs of New York might collapse because they have not seen the Knicks move on to the second round or even make a deep run in the playoffs. Literally since 1999 when they went all the way to the finals. I mean, it's been a long time since the Knicks has been relevant. But Trae Young is a danger and a problem, and he will get his. So that's why I think there's going to be a few games where they're going to steal it. It's going to be one hell of a series. There's really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
And MF, we have one more series left. The team that finished with the best record in the NBA, the Utah Jazz, Al Braderson. Have yourself a team there, my friend. I mean, unbelievable. I know Al Braderson's probably going nuts right now. It's the first time since 1998 that the Utah Jazz had the best record in the NBA and had the home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs, including the finals, if they should get there. Not since the Malone and Stockton days, but MF, we don't really have a full series preview of notes to work off of here because we still have to determine this result.
Yep, because we still got Memphis and Golden State tomorrow.
Yep, and that winner will square off against the Utah Jazz. So what do you make of all that?
Well, the thing is that if it's Memphis that gets out, then I think Utah should have no problem with Memphis. I think they'll dismiss them rather early, and it will be an easy victory for them. If they get Golden State, I would be very concerned because Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and especially the way that they played last night against the Lakers. Man, if they go up against Utah and they play with that type of intensity, there are problems, and Utah might be in a dogfight. We've seen a lot of legendary 8-1 upsets. It's only happened twice in the NBA. Everybody remembers, I believe it was 1995 when the Dikembe Mutombo and the Denver Nuggets knocked out. 94. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. When Dikembe Mutombo and the Denver Nuggets knocked out Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, and the Seattle Supersonics. Yep. And it was without a doubt the biggest upset in NBA playoff history. And then, of course, 1999, the New York Knicks, with that team knocking out the Miami Heat in the first round. And that was another 8-1 upset.
And went all the way to the finals.
And went all the way to the finals, only to lose to San Antonio. I kind of feel like if it's Golden State, I would be on upset alert.
Absolutely.
I would put that on upset alert. And there's no doubt in my mind that Golden State has the horses and they got the weapons, even though they don't have Tristan Thompson. If they had him on the lineup and they were the 8th seed, forget it. Golden State goes through easily. This is going to be a 7-game war. And I think Utah will just scrape by to get through. But, man, it's going to be a war if they get there. If it's Memphis, it's an easy series. I think it ends in 5 or 6. If it's Golden State, it could go 6-7. But I would not be stunned. I would not be shocked if Golden State upends Utah. So that's my personal opinion. Whatever it is, it's going to be one hell of a. It's going to be a very interesting series. I got Golden State going as the 8th seed. I got them beating Memphis tomorrow night.
Agreed.
But as far as that second game about the series goes, I got Utah in 7. But I would not be surprised if Golden State wins it. So Anthony, It's yours to close it for the night.
Yep, and I'm right there with you. I 100% agree. I think Golden State should have no trouble with Memphis in that playing game tomorrow night at the Oracle. And then Golden State and Utah in the series. Utah should get by because of the home court advantage. But let's not forget about that past championship experience of Golden State when they had that dynasty with Steph Curry and all them, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and all those guys. And we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we could get a rebirth of that. Well, you never know. But I'm going to go with Utah as well. So that's pretty much all we can do for that. So that will put the bow on this edition of Strictly Sports. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. MF will be your master of ceremonies tomorrow night, as we will have the Cerebral Smack Talk Friday Night SmackDown on the docket, and their fallout from WrestleMania Backlash, obviously. And then Monday, MF, hang on, because there's something we definitely need to address as far as future content goes. I'll let you know in a moment. Monday, of course, we have Ridiculously Raw, Monday Night Raw, and then my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and 205 Live. Now, MF, we have an interesting situation here. Of course, NXT's on Tuesday. That's a given. But usually on Wednesday, there's usually AEW Dynamite. But this Wednesday night, AEW Dynamite will not be seen. It'll be preempted due to NBA playoff coverage. So, and I don't know what we have. I don't think we really have much on the pipeline for next week's Strictly Sports. Now, how are we going to do? Are we going to push Mayhem back to another day? Are we going to push it like to Saturday or something? I don't know what we're going to do here, because that Dynamite's going to air on Friday night, May 28th at 10 or 10:30. So, and I don't know what we're going to do. So MF, hopefully we can, hopefully there's a game plan that we can figure out. So, and I don't know about what we have in store for next week's show. So we got to definitely brainstorm about that, and hopefully we'll let you folks know what's going on soon enough. But just wanted to address that elephant in the room. So maybe we could save it for behind the scenes, I guess. So, but for right now, until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, this is Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, Didi Woodson, and the Yankee Messiah 401 Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, watching 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Floyo, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.